We'll see if Miami can comfortably win maybe for a change this week when they travel to Louisville, or if they're going to keep us all hanging off a cliff. Should be a good one when the Canes get together with the Cardinals. We'll preview here. We got Miami Flo on the line here at the Voice of College Football. Check out his work talking Miami football on a regular basis. What's going on today, man?
Not much, brother. Happy to be back and talk some football, Miami football, and just regular college football, which is an absolute soap opera currently. But but pretty excited that I love football season. I'm already pissed that it's halfway through the year.
Yeah, it's already half over. 6 down for the Canes, 6 to go, and things are always a bit different than what we anticipated early in the season. So a trip to Cal proves to be an interesting roller coaster. So what do you make out of that game? In that Miami dominated to a certain extent statistically, but of course they were buried at 35-10, given up for dead, and they were able to pull it out. So obviously didn't play up to standard for most of the game, but you got to love the resilience.
Yeah, I mean, we're learning how to win. I know it sounds great to get Coach Mario in here and take a couple lumps the first couple of years he's here and bring all these great players from recruiting class on top of recruiting class, and now you have the transfer portal. Currently, you have a Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback. It all sounds great, but we haven't won consistently in a long time. And what's in my opinion, the biggest thing that separates the top 5 to 7 programs year in year out, other than personnel, is they win when they don't have their A or their B game. They win that when they come in with their C game. They it's ugly, but you don't talk about it as much as if you win it. And we didn't play well. We haven't played well in those situations. When we're getting a little bit of hype in the past. So are you a glass half full person or are you a glass half empty person? And I rather look at it like we usually would have lost that game in the last 5 to 10 years, and I'll take the W. It was not how I would have liked it. I'm on my front of my television at 2:30 in the morning going crazy. But it's a W. It's a W, take the W, go into the bye week, get upset for a day or two, look at the tape, and then you're 6-0. You're 6-0 and you got everything still in front of you. I look at it that way, and it's the way I choose to look at it. I've been hurt too long. I've been hurt too long to look at it any other way.
No doubt. And that's exactly what we're trying to figure out with a lot of these teams that are supposed to be good. Is this who they are? Meaning, will they continue to struggle and eventually slip up against marginal competition? Or is that their C game? And there's not a whole lot to be worried about because that's their C game and they haven't kicked it into overdrive. And obviously, Miami was kicking it into overdrive for the first 4 games of the season. So I have to think that the truth lies somewhere in between, that this is maybe not necessarily quite an elite team. Maybe they are, maybe they'll grow into that, but I certainly know that they're better than Cal and Virginia Tech. And if they played 10 times, they would not be struggling to the last play of the game on most occasions with either one. That's at least how I look at it. I just think the personnel and talent separation between them, Miami, and Virginia Tech and Cal is too great.
Yeah, no, I agree with, from resource standpoint, like you said, and personnel, I don't think we're on the same planet, but, understanding how to win and being playing as a team, week in, week out. I believe there's 4 tiers, in college football. It's just my personal take. There's 4 teams, 5 teams, maybe at the top. Then there's another tier. There's another 5 to 7. Then you have the rest of the guys that are probably pretty good that can beat the tier above on any given day if they don't show up. And then there's everybody else at the end, right? And I think Miami is 6-0, ranked 6th in the country. But are we 6th in the country? I mean, if you're being realistic and you're being honest from what you put out on tape, maybe from a roster standpoint, you can say we could beat anybody on a given day. But as far as what you put out on tape, I think we're more in the second tier. I think we're more between, on the bottom side of a top 10 to maybe, 12, 11, 12 in the country, not, getting closer to 5 because other teams are losing or whatnot. I think Cal is a good team, but their roster is their roster. I mean, they played better as a team. They took advantage of us maybe thinking we just have a lot of talent, and we don't have to do the fundamentals, the P's and Q's, where's your eyes at, things like that. Look, Mark, to be honest with you, I'm just happy to be 6-0. I know that we're not, I don't think we're elite, but I think we're pretty good. And I think if we play our A game, we can play with anybody. Whether we win or not, that's a different story. But if we come with our A game now, 18 to 22, 18 to 23-year-old men, how often do they play with their A game in 12 games? Maybe 7 or 8. So what happens to those other 4 games? That's what we're going to see.
Well, you're not giving me much to argue with because I'm right there with you. I don't think they're quite elite, but on a given day, Cam Ward's hot, and they certainly have the talent that, shoot, if they show up in a playoff game against some of the teams that we're thinking about, whether that's Penn State or Tennessee or whomever, they absolutely can compete with those teams. And then if you take it maybe to a higher rung, whether that's Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, whomever, yeah, I think they could still on a given day play with them, but most likely wouldn't over the course of 10 games. But way better than, then you're going off into that 15 to 40 range. And we seem to be of like-mindedness that those teams are so close.
Yep.
And Miami's certainly a cut above them. So what I'm seeing on both sides of the ball is there seems to be a sore spot on either side. And for me, the secondary, it's not a surprise, would be one. So what are your thoughts about the secondary, and are you hopeful for improvement?
Yeah, I put a little bit of the secondary woes on our DC. I mean, everybody loves our DC. I love our DC. Coach Guidry is there's a reason they extended him after 1 year being here. But you lose in my opinion, your best corner right in the first game of the year, Damari Brown. He's not, if you see him, you're going to see him on the back end of the season at all. And you want to play man because that's your human nature. That's your pride. That's your background. You just want to be in everybody's face and let's go. And that's great if you have the personnel to run it the whole time. I'm on the side of, if you're the better team, like you go to Cal, they have a dink and dunk offense. Why do you give me an opportunity to hit you with big plays? Make them work it up the field, and in the red zone, tighten up, have a kick a field goal. Good luck trying to stop our offense. That's how I look at it. But he has shown 2 games in a row now that he will put his foot down on the gas regardless. And I think that's hurting us. I do. I think you don't have the personnel in the back end to stick with some of these guys for an entire. I mean, look, if you watch our defense, it's great tackle for a loss, another great play, and then we give up 40 yards. That's literally been like our defense. So I would like something more in the middle. I do think that the back end is not as good as I would hope for if you're going to play man, but you got a lot of guys with a lot of snaps. Mish Powell just played in the national championship game. Harris, is in his 3rd year, learning under Cam Kitchens. You got Kiko, who's played, I don't know how many snaps at this point, Wes, Porter. You got a bunch of guys that play on that snap. They know how to play zone. And I'm not a fan of zone all the time, but mix it in with your personnel, make teams earn it. Don't give them big plays. And that's the only reason we're in these games. That, and then I'm sure you're going to talk about in a second on the other side of the ball. Cam, sometimes thinks he's in the backyard. He's running around for like an hour. And I think that is great sometimes. And I also think he is learning how to play with a team that has really good players. He's never had that before. So he's always had to be the guy that runs around like a crazy madman. He has to make every single play. So he gets a lot of criticism. I think this is a learning curve for him to say, hey, you know what? Take the check down. Hey, you know what? Take the sack. Hey, you know what? Throw the ball into the stands. We're good. Look what we have on the outside. Look what we have at tight end. Look what we have in the running back. Look at our offensive line. You don't have to do this. And I think it's a learning curve for him. And stuff that I've heard in the building on the bye week, that was some stuff that's come up. And everything I hear about Cam is that he is open. He's open to listening and to learning. And we will see coming off the bye week. I know I'm getting a little bit ahead, but I'm just defensively, I'll just say, I think we're not as bad as we look if the DC helps us a little bit with maybe more conservative calls, because our front 4 is elite. Our front 4 is definitely elite. After that, I think we're okay. We're solid, but let's not play the risky defense, in my opinion.